penalties in order to avoid what they call open cases sa BIR, meaning pag open cases, returns that are not filed. So I'm really hoping that at the end of this session, we will be able to reach out and broaden our reach, no, in order to educate people on what they need to do. So again, thank you, Murfix, for this invitation. And yes, I'm ready. We can
Actually,
start.
Tina, ang pinaka-objective talaga natin dito is really how can we pay the lowest tax possible, no?
Welcome to our online session on 2024 taxation for online sellers. Today, we are privileged to have with us an exceptional speaker who is well versed in the intricacies of taxation, especially as it pertains to the dynamic world of online commerce. It is my pleasure to introduce Christine. Christine is not just a tax expert, she is a guiding light for online sellers navigating the complex maze of taxation laws. With a rich background in accounting and tax law, she has dedicated her career to helping entrepreneurs understand and comply with their tax obligations, empowering them to focus on growing their businesses. Today, Christine will share her insights on the latest tax updates for 2024, offering strategies to optimize your tax obligations and avoid common pitfalls. Whether you're new to online selling or looking to expand your operation, her guidance will be instrumental in navigating the year ahead. Let's start the session.
So good morning, Tin. Welcome or thank you for joining our session for today. We would like to talk about the taxation in the Philippines for technically this is for online sellers like Shopee, Lazada, or TikTok, right? Because there's a new well, it's not a new memorandum or a new tax implication or um, something that they need to do, but it's been there for quite some time. But now, I think the thing is the sellers are forced because the digital platforms are being forced to submit like a tax report or something like that, right? So there's a lot of questions about taxation now, especially in Facebook groups or in other platforms, right? So let's talk about that. So at least our watchers or listeners would have an idea on what are the things that they need to do in order to register their business and become legal business technically, right? Because that's one thing that's really important for us. So I have prepared some few questions for you, Teen, right? I know you've been through this, but it would be nice to actually provide insight coming from a tax lawyer, right? Or someone who's really doing this on the ground, right? So let's go ahead and start that, right?
Yeah, well, first, Murfix, I'd like to thank you for inviting me to this session. I'm really hoping that I can help out small business owner, entrepreneurs. I mean, like, nandun sa medium, from small to medium bracket, no? In order to ensure that they are tax compliant, they are doing things right, in order to avoid penalties, right? In order to avoid penalties, in order to avoid what they call open cases sa BIR, meaning pag open cases, returns that are not filed. So I'm really hoping that at the end of this session, we will be able to reach out and broaden our reach, no, in order to educate people on what they need to do. So again, thank you, Murfix, for this invitation. And yes, I'm ready. We can start.
Right. Actually, Tina, ang pinaka-objective talaga natin dito is really how can we pay the lowest tax possible, no? At, I mean, from a business owner, kasi there's a lot of things that we're looking at na, no? So, a lot of expenses, and then additional tax na bawas sa hopefully in we can go ahead and discuss that through this question. So first and foremost, right, let's go ahead and skip this agenda already. It's already there. But the question really is, why is there a tax? Like, there are some questions that's coming in. Like, people are actually asking already, like, bakit pa may tax? Hindi ba malulugi na kami dito? Like, may tax, may konti na yung profit ko, tas may tax pa. Baka wala na silang kitain or something. Is it possible na gano'n?
Well, basically, Marvin, Murfix, tinan mo pa. Well, basically, Murfix, the law is still equitable because In the event that your earnings do not reach more than 250,000 pesos, there would be no tax liability. So, halimbawa, ang kinita lang ng isang individual ay 250,000 pesos for the entire year, ang gagawin niya lang mag-file ng tax return. Wala naman siyang babayaran na tax at all, no? Pag 250,000 pesos ang kanyang kinita during the year. I am talking about a situation where the business owner adopted the 8% option kasi merong mga sistema ang gobyerno na binibigay sa mga taxpayers in order to ensure that their burden will be alleviated. Yung bababa yung pag-shoulder nila ng tax liability. Halimbawa, pag nagrehistro sila sa 8% tax, okay? Pag nagrehistro sila sa 8% tax, and their annual gross receipts do not exceed 250,000 pesos, wala na silang babayarang percentage tax, wala rin silang babayarang income tax. So doon pa lang makikita natin that the law is equitable because the law considers the ability to pay of the taxpayer to pay the tax. So kung 250,000 lang ang kinita niya for the entire year, wala siyang percentage tax. Kung naka 8% tax siya, wala rin siyang babayarang income tax kasi nga yung 250,000 is considered as a deduction from the entire gross sales. So basically, using this particular example, makikita natin na meron palang mga instances kung saan hindi na magbabayad ang isang individual taxpayer in the event na ang kinita niya is not more than 250,000 pesos. Now, paano kung more than 250,000 pesos? That's the only time that the taxpayer would pay a tax liability. So, in which case, yan na yung meron na kasi siyang capability to pay the tax. And we all know that taxes are necessary in order for the government to defray the expenses when intended for the people, di ba? Kaya, kung titingnan sa anggulong yon, pag nag-more than 250 ka na, sinasabi ng gobyerno, tumulong ka na. Pag less than 250 ka pa, okay lang, wala kang babayaran na liability. But take note that I am talking about the angle where the individual taxpayer had chosen the 8% option. Kasi pag hindi siya pumili ng 8% option, may babayaran pa rin siyang percentage tax equivalent to 3% of the gross sales or gross receipts of that individual taxpayer.
Okay, sige. Let's talk about that a little bit later, no? Pero
Yeah.
I think the question here really is why do we need to pay taxes? And you answered like mga expenses ng government for the people, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's more of like social, ano bang, I don't know how to term it, but it's a social um, taxation in the sense that the people who can pay tax should pay tax. And the people who cannot pay tax are the one receiving. Ano. Parang syempre,
Well, if
hindi,
we talk about the theoretical part of it, ang tawag dyan sa doctrine na yan, immortalized by jurisprudence, is lifeblood doctrine. No? Taxes are the lifeblood of the government, without which the government can neither exist nor endure. Kasi nga, kailangan talaga ng taxes in order for the government to exist. Otherwise, walang pera ang ating gobyerno in order to defray the expenses that the government needs in order to serve the people. So basically, yan yung theoretical part of it. But in exercising, of course, the functions of the government also needs to consider the principle of equitability, di ba? Dapat equitable siya. Kaya meron tayong tinatawag na progressive system of taxation where pagka tumataas ang income bracket ng isang tao, tumataas din yung liability. This will reduce social inequity kasi pag meron tayong ganung type of taxes. So kaya kung makikita natin yung income tax natin, di ba? Pag tumataas ang income, tumataas din yung tax. No? That is in order to reduce social inequity and also part of equitability. Yan yung mga theoretical part of why the government needs to collect taxes.
okay. Alright, sige. Yun na yun.
Oo,
Anyway.
yun na yun.
Alright, so, next question, kasi I'm a business coach in a sense, right? And most of the time, yung lagi kong sinasabi sa mga kino-coach ko is, try it out muna. Right? So, are they violating any BIR laws pag ganun? Kasi syempre, when you start a business, pagka nag-register ka na, ang dami ng process nun, no? And hindi ka pa sure kung tutuloy yung business. So, pwede ba yun for, hindi ko alam kung mahuli siya or what, no? Tama ba yung ganong sinasabi ko na just try it out, sell it out first kung may bumibili, saka ka na lang mag-ano. Kasi parang counterintuitive kasi yung, for me, yung business registration and yung mga ganyan, right? Kasi hindi mo pa alam kung mag-push through yung, kung magsasucceed yung business mo or may buyers ba, ganyan. Um, Pwede ba yung ganon? Or you really need to do BIR registration?
Well, since I am a lawyer, since I am, since I'm answering it as a tax lawyer, then of course the answer would be that even if you're just trying it out, you really need to register the business. No, all that you need to do is to close the registration if it fails. Um, the rule is that before you enter into a business undertaking, you need to register your business with the DTI if you're going to establish a sole proprietorship type of business structure. And then register it with the BIR and then get a business permit from the local government unit. Yan yung rule, no? Whether you're trying it out first, whether it's on a trial and error stage or not, the requirement of the law is that you have to register first before you enter into a business undertaking. Well, I understand the plight of others, no, na, ay, sinusubukan ko lang naman eh, di ba? Sinusubukan ko lang naman. But there's no provision in the law which states that if it's on the trial and error stage, you're exempted from registration. We're hoping na merong ganun sana, no? Yung merong
Yeah.
batas na sabi na pagka nasa first 3 months ka pa lang, exempt ka muna sa registration. So, titignan mo muna kung kikita o hindi. Pagka kumita na yan at nakapag-decide ka na within 3 months na okay siya na negosyo at itutuloy mo, that's the time that you would register your business with the respective or the concerned government agencies. But we really do not have any law that supports such position. Siguro somebody could lobby for that law, no, na meron sanang trial stage na wala munang business registration, but at the present time wala tayong ganun eh. So meaning, since we do not have a law to support it, then we have to stick with what the law provides, and that is before someone enters into like a business, they need to register such business before the concerned government agencies. As I mentioned, no, if we talk about sole proprietorship, sa DTI yan. Pag korporasyon and partnerships, sa SEC. After registration with those government agencies, irehistro na nila yung kanilang negosyo sa BIR and then apply for a business permit as well with the local government unit. So, ganun kasi talaga ang proseso na sinasabi sa batas. And again, I will repeat, there's no buffer zone before like the main operations. No? Talagang pag nagbukas ka, dapat meron na yung mga yon. I am not saying na, bakit? Kasi ang laging sasabing argument, marami namang negosyong gano'n. Marami naman
Actually, ganun na next question
Oo,
ko.
marami namang negosyo na hindi naman nakarehistro. Yung fact alone na hindi sila nahuhuli does not mean that it is allowed. Yun lang siguro hindi sila nahuhuli, di ba? Kaya mukha siyang allowed. But in reality, the law does not support such. Siguro kung meron nga ganong batas, that, well and good, no? But right now, there's none.
Yeah, kasi parang coming from somebody na parang alam mo yun yung parang ease of doing business. Parang it's a little bit hard talaga because there's a lot of things. Hindi pa pwedeng one registration muna. Parang ganong stages, no? So I think it's parang kung sino yung I think it's Congress who can do that, no? Tama ba?
Yes, Congress.
So if alam mo yun, kasi parang we're moving to the age that there's a lot of digital places where you can do commerce, right? Even services, freelancing, mga ganyan. Even yun, medyo hindi pa siya natatouch talaga. Kasi it's a little bit, technically it's a little bit hard for somebody na hindi marunong.
Right? Correct. Yeah. Right now, I'm not really like, I am certain that for BIR purposes, no, registration cannot be done online. Parang magsasubmit ka pa rin talaga ng documents before the BIR. Only that, pag filing na ng returns, no, once nakapag-rehistro ka na sa BIR, yung filing ng returns can be done online. So that's the beauty naman when it comes to the BIR framework. Yun lang, yung initial registration mo talagang on-site. filing can be done nga online. So, ang kailangan mo lang gawin, magrehistro ka. Pag nakarehistro ka na, pwede yon, no? Mag-register ka under electronic filing and payment system so that you can do the filing and the payment of the taxes online. May tinatawag silang EFTS. For local government units, kanya-kanya yan eh. Iba-iba kasi yung per local government unit. May ibang local government unit, meron na silang platform for online transactions. May iba naman na wala, di ba? Kasi it would require certain infrastructure in order for the LGU to be able to deliver services online. So iba-iba rin yun, di ba? And that would require budgetary requirements. Sa DTI naman, you can just get the forms online as well. Meron silang mga ganon. So, nakikita natin ng government, the government is trying to shift to online platforms too, but I think we are still in the stage where we're
or
still
adapting.
starting to like adopt to that change, where we're hoping that in the near future everything will be done online. But at this stage, not yet, no, for all transactions.
Or parang sana standard na lang, no? Parang it's easy, parang anywhere, parang pare-parehas, parang I don't know why it's difficult, pero
Well, I think that's not possible. Yung one for everything, no? Not really like it's impossible. It's possible, but there has to be like a tripartite agreement between these government agencies. Kasi we need to remember that DTI is separate from BIR. BIR is separate from the LGU. So, meaning, talagang kailangan kung gusto nilang one-stop shop for everything, there has to be like a tripartite agreement between this government, like concerned government agencies, para meron na nga one-stop shop, no? Like for everything na. But that's actually a good idea, di ba? Para kung ikaw business owner, doon ka lang pupunta and then everything is done. Ngayon kasi ang mangyayari, pupunta ka muna DTI or SEC, and then pupunta ka BIR, and then pupunta ka ng local government unit. Basically, ganun ang nangyayari ngayon eh. So, ang ganda ng idea na sa isang lugar ka lang pupunta ay nandun na lahat.
yeah. Soon, tatakbo tayong
Soon.
presidente. Yan ang ano yun natin.
Pero maganda siya, di ba? Maganda siyang idea actually. It will really help those individuals kasi ngayon ang hirap, di ba? Tapos may transportation cost ka pa, tapos ang lalayo ng mga government agencies na yan in some area.
Kung
So,
isipin mo,
maganda actually idea na yun.
yeah, parang one of the reason kung bakit hindi nag-file ng mga business registration is may perception kasi na mahirap, may perception kasi na ang daming gagawin. Right? So kung mawala siguro yun, at least it would be easier. Kasi kung ang main purpose naman is for them to register and collect yung mga taxes, just make it easier. Siguro yun lang yung concern ko, no? Kasi coming from an employee ako, okay na yun kasi may 2316, that's easy, right? Pero kung business, medyo ang dami pang manual filing na kailangan. I mean, you need to do it manually, maybe online or sa office or ganyan. Anyways.
Well, I have to agree with you. Talagang, I have to agree that it's really difficult. No? Not just difficult, but time-consuming as well. Kasi you're jumping from one government agency to another. Kaya when you pitch in the idea that there's like a one-stop shop for everything, brilliant. Ako, tingin ko, that's really a good idea. At least you just go there and you do everything. And I'm really hoping that in the future, no, yung parang you just do it, you do everything in one day or probably in 1 to 2 days. Just parang everything will be done na in 1 to 2 days. That's a perfect situation. Very idealistic, but I think it can be reached. It's feasible.
Sige. Let's ask Congress to work on it and then
Well, alam mo may mga batas na ease in doing business. Ganyan. Yung meron na rin mga batas na dapat ma-process na within certain number of days. Meron na tayong mga ganyan eh. Only that, the enactment of a law and its implementation are two different things, di ba? So, I think this is really a matter of implementation.
Laws, but implementation medyo mahirap. So anyways. Alright. Oh, ito. Napag-usapan na natin kanina. Again, the objective is what's the best way or the best type of business siguro to lower the taxes? Like, ano bang pinakamaganda sa
Ako, Morfex, it really depends on una, type of business. Pangalawa, magkano ba yung yung income na possible na ma-earn niya during the year. Yan yung mga aspects na tinitingnan in order to determine which one is better. Okay. Why do I say that? Kasi kung ang income ng isang taxpayer would fall within the 3 million bracket, no? Yung pwede siya mag-choose ng 8% tax. Halimbawa, 3 million or less ang kanyang gross receipts. Pag sinabi natin gross receipts, di ba, yan yung natatanggap niya without any deductions at all. So kung ang natatanggap niya ay 3 million or less, better actually ang sole proprietorship. But here's the catch. Pag naka-sole proprietorship ka kasi, kahit yung personal assets mo, pwedeng habulin. No? Pwedeng habulin. Kasi ikaw yun eh. Sinasabi mo ikaw yung nagko-conduct ng business. On the other hand, pag naka-korporasyon ka kasi, hindi mahahabol yung personal assets mo dahil the corporation has a separate and distinct personality from you, a stockholder. So, ang maganda actually sa corporate setup, naka-shield yung personal assets mo from those assets that are being used in business. Yun yung benefit ng corporate structure. And so, in my case as a business consultant, I always advise clients to just, put up a corporation kung alam kong medyo malaki-laki naman yung possible earnings ng korporasyon. Pero kung maliit ang kinikita, halimbawa mo, maliit yung asset size, maliit din ba yung kinikita nila, better na lang na sole proprietorship, di ba? Bakit? Kasi mas maliit ang babayaran nilang tax. Mas lalo kung ang pinili nila is yung 8% option. Yung, ano yung 8% option ulit? That's the 8% based on the gross sales or gross receipts, less the 250,000 pesos. So example, ang kinikita niya for the entire year ay 1,000,000. That's just an example. 1,000,000. Pag nag-register siya under the 8% option, okay, pag nag-register siya under the 8% option, magkano lang ang tax na babayaran niya? That's 1,000,000 minus 250,000 kasi nga exempt yun eh, yung 250. So, ang may iwan, 750,000 pesos, correct? Ngayon, since naka 8% option siya, hindi na siya magbabayad ng percentage tax. Kasi the 8% option is already in lieu of the percentage tax and the income tax. So, yun lang ang babayaran niya, yung 8%. Wala nang iba. Okay. So, if we multiply 8% by 750,000 pesos, 60,000 pesos yon for the entire year. Yan lang ang babayaran niya for the entire year. So that's actually the beauty of choosing the 8% option. Aside from that, mas madali siya kasi hindi na siya magpa-file ng percentage tax return. Iisang return na lang ang ipa-file niya and that's the income tax return. And the income tax return will already be considered a sufficient filing for the percentage tax kasi nga ma-exempt ka na sa percentage once pinili mo na yung 8% option. When I was conducting like seminars, no, I tried to compute the break-even point. Alam mo, Murfix, kung ano ang break-even point? Ang break-even point is 400,000 pesos. Meaning, if the taxpayer chooses if the taxpayer earned gross receipts in the amount of 400,000, kasi hodang pinili niya ang 8% or ang normal tax, no? It won't make a difference. Parehas lang yung total effect niya, basically. But when I stated this, I am presuming that the taxpayer chose optional standard deduction, I am presuming that the taxpayer chose optional standard deduction. I am presuming that the taxpayer did not keep all receipts for the taxpayer's expenses. So, ang optional standard deduction kasi is equivalent to 40% of the gross sales or gross receipts. Hindi na kailangan ng resibo. Kasi like sa akin, no, bilang abogado, hindi ako nagkikip ng resibo. I hate to say this, no? Parang wala na akong time to keep all those receipts. And probably, it won't be wise for me to do that as well. So, wala akong expenses. So, kung wala akong mga resibo, anong gagawin ko? I-choose ko na lang yung 40% optional standard deduction. And guess what? Pag naka-optional standard deduction din lang ako, better na lang na piliin ko yung 8% option. Bakit? Kasi pag more than 400,000 ang aking gross receipts and I choose optional standard deduction, it would be wise for me to choose 8% because that will always result to a lower tax exposure. Always. I had already done all the computations and that's always the conclusion, no? If the gross sales is more than 400,000 pesos and the taxpayer chooses optional standard deduction, the wiser choice is 8% because again, I will repeat, it will result to a lower tax exposure. Okay. Now, when would the taxpayer choose OPC? I think the taxpayer should choose OPC if the gross receipts would exceed a certain bracket na mas mataas na yung rate. Kasi ganito yan. Pag more than 800,000 ang net income, more than 800,000 ang net income, the taxpayer would be subject to tax at the rate of 20%. Okay, more than 800. Pag more than 2 billion na siya, mas malaki na naman yung tax bracket. Ngayon, ibig sabihin nito, no, habang tumataas ang income tax bracket mo as an individual taxpayer, tumataas din yung rate mo and you can be slapped with a rate of 35%. Eh pag korporasyon ka, ang max rate mo lang would be 25%. Magiging 25% lang yan kung ang net income mo is more than 5 million. But if your net income is less than 5 million, net income is less than 5 million, guess what? Your rate is not 25%, but rather 20%. So, ibig sabihin nun, pag nag-korporasyon ka, mas mababa ang tax rate mo. Kasi either 20% ka lang or 25% based on the net income. So, that's the beauty. Tapos, nakashield pa ang personal assets mo, di ba? So, yun yung maganda pag naka-korporasyon ka. But, here's the disadvantage. If you talk about the admin side. Sa admin side naman kasi, ang mahirap pag naka-korporasyon, may mga additional requirements. Ano yung mga additional requirements na yun? May ifa-file ka sa Securities and Exchange Commission every year na general information sheet na hindi mo ginagawa pag sole proprietor ka. Nagfa-file ka ng financial statements every year sa SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, na hindi mo ginagawa kapag sole proprietor ka. But I think, for me those additional admin requirements are actually manageable compared to the benefits of establishing a corporation. Yung iba lang naman, ang medyo problema nila pagka-corporation ay, hindi ba kailangan ko ng 5 tao? Eh di maghahanap pa ako ng dagdag, di ba? Eh paano yun? 2 lang naman ang gusto kong maging members ng korporasyon. Okay. Under the revised corporation code, pwede nang magtayo ng korporasyon kahit nag-iisa lang yung stockholder. Ang tinatawag na natin dyan ay one-person corporation. So in a one-person corporation, no, pwedeng iisa lang yung stockholder. Wala ka ng board of director kasi nga mag-isa mo lang, 'di ba? Wala ka ng ibang kasama. Yun lang ang kainaman ang advice ko lang sa mga magtatayo ng one-person corporation. Kailangan iba yung treasurer nila at iba din yung iba yung treasurer nila dun sa stockholder. Bakit? Kasi kung yung stockholder din ang corporate treasurer, the SEC would require a bond in the amount of 1 million pesos. Yan.
So parang kailangan pa rin ng additional person, technically.
Yeah, technically. But then the additional person will not be part of the corporation. I-appoint mo lang siya as a corporate treasurer. And the corporate treasurer does not need to be a stockholder. So parang ikaw lang pa rin ang stockholder, nag-iisa kang stockholder, yun lang, meron kang in-appoint na corporate treasurer.
Okay, sige. So, kasi kunyari kasi ang market ko usually, starting pa lang sila from employee to starting a business. So, pwede bang sole proprietor muna sila? And then once tumataas na yung profit or gusto nilang mabawasan, kasi nga 35% yung maximum sa sole, no?
Pag mataas na yung income yun, pag mataas na yung income, 35%.
So, pwede na siya either OPC or regular corporation.
Yeah. Pero ako, Marvs, ang tingin ko dyan, no, tinitignan natin, usually sa akin sa business consultancy, tinitignan ko yung personal assets nung magtatayo ng business. Pag nakita ko na kasi na medyo malaki na yung personal asset, usually sinasuggest ko na kaagad na corp na. Ang reason kasi, halimbawa, nagtayo siya ng negosyo, sole proprietorship, meron siyang employee na bigla na lang nag-complain, diba? Ang tanong dyan, may risk ba na habulin yung personal assets niya kahit hindi na naman niya yung kinita sa negosyo? Kasi may ibang ganun di ba? Na nag-work, may inipon sa work, tapos nagnegosyo. Ang tanong ay, hahabulin ba ng government yung, pwede bang habulin yung personal assets? O, ang tanong, pwede, di ba? Kasi proprietorship nga. So, meaning hindi naka-shield yung personal assets niya. Yun yung kasi fear ko. Kaya tinitingnan din natin dun sa konteksto na magkano na yung assets niya before entering into the business. So, better actually to look into that as well. Pag nakita natin na hindi naman, hindi too risky, then okay lang, mag-sole proprietorship na lang. Pero kung medyo marami-rami na siyang naipon from a previous work, kunwari dati siyang employee, di ba? Better na rin na to shield the personal assets from the risk of liability when it comes to operating the business.
Okay. Pero wala nang 8% yun, no? Hindi na papasok yung 8%.
Yeah, wala nang 8%. The 8% is actually applicable only when it comes to sole proprietors. So, dapat individual taxpayer siya.
Okay. Sige. Okay, alright. Thank you. So, tingnan natin. Ito, medyo na-discuss na natin to, yung what is the best income tax rate, right? So, again, pagka sole proprietor ka, for you, it's parang better ang 8%, less admin, less stuff like that, no? Siguro ang pinaka-next question ko dito is more on, paano kung combine? Parang full-time employee siya, tapos online seller din siya. Paano yon? Like, kasi what I heard, wala nang 250 deduction coming from your business kasi pasok na siya sa pagiging employee mo. Tama ba yan?
Yeah. But before we move on to your question about like paano kung employee din siya, Marvs, gusto ko lang magbigay ng ng caveat. Pagdating dun sa una, paano kung online seller ka? Sabi ko 8% mas maganda, but that is when you would choose the 8%, you would choose optional standard deduction. I also need to touch on yung paano kung masinop ka naman. Kunwari online seller ka, tapos tinatago mo lahat ng resibo. Kunwari ganon. And take note, dapat ang tinatago mong resibo ay merong authority to print. Kasi yung authority to print sa resibo, it would signify that the receipt is duly registered with the BIR. Okay. In order for you to be able to use those expenses as deductions kasi, kailangan yung document ay duly registered with the BIR. Kaya very crucial na may authority to print yung resibo mo. Hindi pwedeng yung parang sa palengke na papel lang, no? Hindi pwedeng gano'n. You cannot use that.
Na walang
Correct. Di ba yung iba nga voucher lang Hindi po pwedeng gano'n. So, on the assumption na napakasinop mo at tinatago mo lahat ng resibo, no? Akin, tignan mo kung gaano kalaki yung natago mong resibo. Kasi halimbawa, may iba kasing online seller, di ba? Masalo pag nagsusstart pa lang. Halimbawa mo, ang kinita niya ay 1,000,000. Expenses niya ay 800,000. Diba? 800,000. So, tingnan natin doon sa anggulong yon. Ang kinita niya 1,000,000, 800,000 expenses. Lahat ng 800,000 na yan, may resibo ha. Okay. Yung pasahod niya may payroll din at pinirmahan din ng mga empleyado. Kumbaga may ebidensya siya na may payroll siya. Okay. Kung titingnan natin dun sa anggulong yon, pag 1,000,000 minus 800,000, 200,000 yon. Yung 200,000 under the law is below 250,000. So meaning, wala siyang income tax liability because the total taxable income during the year is lower than below 250. But since pinili niya ang normal tax, magbabayad siya ngayon ng percentage tax, tama? And percentage tax is 3% of the gross. So, in that situation, the gross is 1,000,000. Okay, so 1,000,000 times 30%, magbabayad siya ng times 3%, 3% tax. 1,000,000 times 3%, that's 30,000, tama? 30,000. So, ang babayaran niya sa government ay 30,000. compared to 8%. Diba kanina yung 8% na sinasabi natin, it would be like 1 million less 250 kasi that's exempt, correct? Yung may matitirang 750, yung 750 times 8%, it will result to 60,000. So, compare natin. Pag normal tax, ang pinili niya, 30,000. Pag 8% ang pinili niya, 60,000. Tama? But that's on the assumption na may mga resibo nga. So, yun yung sinasabi ko na it would be better to choose 8% provided that two things, no? More than 400,000 ang gross receipts. Kasi yun yung break-even point, no? More than 400,000 yung gross receipts. And number two, the taxpayer had chosen optional standard deduction kasi wala siyang resibo. So those two things should be present in order for us to certainly conclude that the 8% will always result to a lower liability. But the situation will be different if the taxpayer has kept all the receipts. Yung may resibo siya sa lahat ng expenses niya. Kasi kung ganun din na may resibo siya sa lahat ng expenses niya, probably mas mababa yung normal tax, di ba? Pero ang difficulty nga doon ay may resibo ba siya na duly registered with the BIR coming from the suppliers? Yun yung main question.
Yan. Kasi yan din yung lalabas sa mga forum is yung supplier nila walang resibo.
Oo, so, kailangan may resibo eh.
So kung walang ma-supply si supplier ng resibo, so talagang pupunta ka sa medyo 8% kasi wala ka namang i-deduct, tama? Parang
correct. Mag-optional standard deduction ka na lang kung wala kang resibo.
Ang question ko, going back to that, pwede ba ngayon, nag-start ako 8% kasi wala akong resibo. Pero next year, papalitan ko siya to yung normal. Is that possible? Or
yeah, that's possible. Kasi ang choice mo between normal tax and the 8% option will be irrevocable only for that taxable year. So kunwari, pinili mo na yung 8% option during the first quarter of the year, hindi ka na pwedeng magpalit kasi pumili ka na ng first quarter na 8% ka eh. So, kung 2024 ngayon, no, pinili mo 8% option first quarter of 2024, 8% ka na hanggang end of the year. Okay? But next year, 2025, kasi naayos mo na yung bookkeeping requirements and all that, okay, pwede ka na mag-shift to normal tax. Irrevocable lang siya for one taxable year.
Okay. Yung sa deduction na sinasabi mo, coming from suppliers, kasi may narinig ako, dapat ba VAT or non-VAT yan? Or it doesn't really matter as long as sila, may BIR, ganyan?
Well, actually, depende yan, no? Kung yung ikaw ay VAT registered or not. Okay? Pag VAT registered ka, kasi nga may VAT ang bawat benta mo eh, di ba? Pag VAT registered ka, dapat bumibili ka from VAT registered suppliers para may maibawas ka dun sa VAT liability mo. Bakit? Kasi ganito sa VAT. Ang benta mo, subject sa VAT, pero lahat ng VAT na pumapasok sa iyo, pwede mo i-deduct dun sa VAT liability mo. Example, ako ay VAT registered. Example lang VAT registered ako. Actually, mandated lang ang business owners to register under VAT system kung more than 3 million ang kanyang gross sales or gross receipts. Dapat more than 3 million.
Automatic yun, VAT ka. Pag more than 3.
Oo, mandated ka na pag more than 3 million. Pero pag hindi ka pa naka-reach ng 3 million, hindi ka pa mandated to register under VAT system. But will the law prevent you from registration under VAT system? Wala naman. So kahit less than 3 million, pwede ka pa rin namang magrehistro sa VAT. Okay? So assuming ako nagrehistro sa VAT system, example lang, hindi pa 3 million yung kinikita ko, pero dahil nagmamanifest na ako na mag-more than 3 million ako, nagrehistro ako. Okay. So, paano kung ang kinita ko during the year ay 1 million? So, yung 1 million na kinita ko, mas subject yan to 12% VAT. So, 120,000 na kaagad yun. Perfect. Imagine, babayaran ko yan sa government. Pero kung may binili ako from VAT suppliers, example, yung goods na binenta ko from VAT supplier, yung gasoline ko, may VAT, di ba? Yung office supplies ko, may VAT. Pag lahat, yung mga binili ko na yan, may VAT. Ang tawag mo dyan kasi input tax eh. input tax yan kasi yung VAT by reason of your purchase, not by reason of sale. Okay. Yung input tax na yan from all my purchases, pwede ko yan i-deduct dun sa 120,000. So, paano kunwari, ang dami kong binili from VAT suppliers, yung gasto pa for my business, may VAT din yan. Ang total lahat ng VAT from my purchases, 130,000. So, ibig sabihin nun, yung 120 ko na output VAT by reason of my sales, ima-minus ko yung 130 na kinuha ko na VAT by reason of my purchases, wala pa akong babayaran sa government. May utang pa sa akin ng government na 10,000, correct? Kasi yung, magkano ulit yung VAT ko dun sa benta? 120. Magkano yung VAT ko by reason of my purchases? 130. So, 120 minus 130, sumobra pa ng 10,000. So, ano mangyayari? Wala akong babayarang VAT sa government. In fact, yung 10,000 ko na excess, pwede ko pa yan gamitin ulit during the next quarter. So, that's the beauty of VAT system. So, ngayon, ang tanong dyan, anong mas maganda? Usually, yung tinatanong ko sa mga clients, saan ka bumibili? Ganyan. Yan yung mga una. Ang iyong negosyo ba? Kasi minsan restaurant, diba? May mga restaurant owners na ang dami nilang binibiling purchases kasi dapat silang may buffer sa purchases eh, di ba? May buffer eh. Hindi ka lang naman bumibili ng ibebenta mo ngayon. May binibili ka rin na para sa stock mo next quarter or next month, correct? So sa mga ganon, tinitignan natin and estimate natin magkano ba purchases mo kasi minsan madami yung purchases. So ibig sabihin ang laki din ng input VAT. Kaya minsan ang sinasabi namin, mas magandang magrehistro ka na lang sa VAT, no? Sa VAT system para wala kang babayaran. Kasi kung hindi ka nakarehistro sa VAT system, automatic magbabayad ka ng 3% percentage tax. And you can't even deduct the input VAT that you paid for all your purchases kasi wala ka sa VAT system. You can only do the tax credit mechanism kung nasa VAT system ka. So, yan
yung business tax na 3%, tama?
Yeah, pag wala ka sa VAT system, 3% ang babayaran mo, other percentage tax.
Okay, sige.
So it's either VAT or other percentage tax, ganon.
So yung sinasabi mo na i-deduct, di ba alam natin parang 12% ang VAT. Yung 12% pa i-compute ko, yung lahat ng total na purchase ko sa isang resibo na coming from VAT, yun yung i-deduct ko. Hindi siya yung may computation pa.
Parang i-add lang, kunwari, ilan ba yung mga purchases, no, from expenses and from goods na tapos i-compute kung ano yung total VAT na binayaran by reason of all those expenses and purchases. Yun na yung buong i-deduct.
Okay, sige.
So yun yung beauty ng VAT system. Kaya, minsan, tinitingnan din natin dapat dun sa angulo na yun kasi hindi lahat alam na, may ganun pala na pwedeng i-deduct, diba? So imagine mo, pag ang dami mong supplies, kunwari retail ka, tapos ang dami mong supplies coming from VAT-registered suppliers. Sayang yon kasi may possibility na wala kang babayarang VAT at all kung marami kang purchases kasi ang laki ng input VAT mo, di ba? Pag marami kang purchases. So hindi lahat alam na may ganun palang tax credit mechanism, no, when it comes to VAT system. And not all people would know about that. So
kunyari, online seller ako. Dahil online seller ako, I need to have an inventory. Tapos yung supplier ko naman is VAT. So parang mas maganda siya kasi minsan mas mataas yung purchase ko kaysa sa sale ko eh, di ba?
Correct. So this would mean na wala kang babayarang VAT at all, di ba? Kaya ang titingnan mo ngayon, aaralin mo, magkano yung expected sales mo and magkano yung expected purchases mo. Kasi nga naman, baka nga mas marami kang purchases from VAT suppliers compared to your sales, and that would mean that you will not pay any VAT at all. But take note anong effect niyan pag nag-VAT ka? Hindi ka na pwede sa 8% option. VAT-registered taxpayers are not entitled to the 8% option kahit pa ang kanilang kinikita ay 3 million or less.
Yun lang.
So, pero ako ko, that's perfectly fine. Diba? Masalo kung nagkikip ka ng receipts.
Kung nagkikip ka ng receipts. Nagkikip ka naman ng receipts during that time eh. Diba? So, correct. No need for that 8%.
Correct. Kasi kung mag-a-avail ka ng input VAT, dapat talaga yon may official receipts eh. So, ibig sabihin nun, may resibo ka. Kaya better actually na lang na mag-VAT system kung ganun din lang.
Sige. Okay. So going
Like,
back here, yeah, doon sa question na pagka ang tawag nila dito mixed income
earner.
earner. Oh, so paano to?
You're using the right terms, ha?
Ah, Siyempre galing tayo diyan. I mean, 'di ba? Yan naman part ng ano ko yan ng subject natin nung college.
Correct. So, pag mixed income earner ka, no, it would mean that you're actually earning income from business and income from employment. We call that compensation income. So, meaning there are two types of incomes that you earn during the year, and these are income from business and compensation income. So, if you earn both during the taxable year, then you are called a mixed income earner. In case of mixed income earner, the tax treatment will always be that the compensation income is always subject to normal tax. Wala yung 8%, 8%. Okay? And then, your income from business will be subject to the same rules, no? Kung 3 million or more, or less, 3 million or less ang iyong gross sales or gross receipts, it would mean that you have the option to register under the 8% tax. Only that, di ba kanina yung sabi ko, 1 million less 250?
Oo.
Pag mixed income
Kaya
earner, wala ng minus 250. So, ibig sabihin nun, pag mixed income earner ka, it's 8% of 1 million. Wala ng 250,000 deduction. That's the only difference between purely self-employed individuals and mixed income earners. So, purely self-employed individuals, may minus 250,000 bago i-multiply yung 8%. Pero pagdating sa mixed income earners, wala ng minus 250. Why? Because the 250,000 exemption has already been factored in computing the tax on the compensation income. That's the logic behind that. So, ang next na question would be, paano namin malalaman kung within the 3 million bracket pa rin kami? Paano kung halimbawa ang kinita ko as an employee ay 2 million? 2 million ang kinita ko as an employee. Ang kinita ko sa negosyo ay 1.5 billion. So if you combine both, it's 3.5 na, di ba? Ang tanong, qualified pa ba ako sa 8% option? The answer is yes. Because in determining the 3 million threshold, we only consider the income from business. We do not add the compensation income because that has a separate tax treatment. So in this case, since yung income from business niya ay 1.5 million lang, which is less than 3 million, qualified pa rin siya under the 8% option.
Okay. And that's the same thing pagka mga real estate salesperson or selling insurance. Almost the same din yun, no?
Yes. Income from business pa rin kasi yung income from real estate and income from insurance. So, both will be classified as income from business, trade, or profession.
So, kunya online seller din siya, tas selling insurance. Parang two separate filing din yun, in a sense, or i-combine din yun?
Ang mangyayari doon, Murfix, would be that yung income niya from, sabihin mo na, income niya sa business, registered siya as 000, okay? So, main yan, main business. Pag magre-register naman siya as real estate agent, 001 na yan. So, para siyang may branch. Kasi separate business yun eh. So, 001. Ang maganda lang, pag registration of branch, yung filing of income tax return and percentage tax, no, if applicable, and VAT, if applicable, would just be in one, sa main lang, sa main office lang. So, meaning sa main business lang. So, pag nag-file siya ng return, lahat ng income niya from all businesses, 00, 001, 002, it will be combined. Ilalagay lang siya sa isang tax return, ilalagay lang siya sa isang VAT return, ilalagay lang siya sa isang percentage tax return. But of course, the taxpayer should still register the separate business as a branch, no? So, ganun siya. Kasi minsan, di ba, kunwari, may negosyo ka, ang negosyo mo, ang registration mo doon, kinoconduct mo siya, example, sa Baguio. Yung isa naman, nasa La Union, o branch siya basically, di ba? So, that's how it works.
Okay. Sige. Alright. So, ito, skip ko na, medyo detailed na yung discussion mo dito kanina. And then, ito, we've talked about it a while ago na rin yung VAT and non-VAT, no? So, parang, Ayun, nagkaka-interest ako sa VAT. Kasi dati, syempre sa akin parang another expense yan eh. Pero kung I'm keeping my receipts, tapos yung suppliers ko are VAT naman,
Yeah.
I think that's good. No? Parang wala nang yung 3% na additional.
Yes.
Ah, yeah, go
Can
ahead.
I mention like can I mention a business entity?
Sige.
Um, it's like me promoting, but I'll
It's
just tell
okay.
you. Um, it's Amare. When Amare started as a sole proprietor. No, Amare is by my cousin. Um, when Amare started, parang ganyan, no, sole proprietor lang siya. Kasi nga, maliit lang naman siya na negosyo. Before it reached the VAT threshold sales, ang unang tanong sa akin ng pinsan ko, mag-ano na ba ako? Rehistro na ba ako sa VAT ate? And I said, magkano na sales mo? At that time, ang threshold amount ay 1,919,500. So sabi ko, may more than 1,919 ka na ba? Sabi niya, wala pa. Nag-expect ka ba? Sana, di ba? Lahat naman ng business owners mag-expect ng better
Right,
sales.
correct.
And then the next question that I asked was, saan ka bumibili ng mga supplies? Di ba? Kasi may binibili siyang ingredients, cheese, dough. Di ba? Ang dami-dami binibili. So, sabi ko, saan mo binibili yung mga yon? Ang sabi niya, sa mga VAT o non-VAT. Sabi ko, sabi niya VAT. So, nung na-realize ko na bumibili pala siya sa mga VAT suppliers, sabi ko, mag-ano ka na lang.
VAT ka na.
Register ka na lang para hindi ka nagbabayad ng percentage tax. Kasi ibig sabihin nun, kung ang laki pala ng inventaryo mo na kinikip mo as buffer for the next periods, di ba? Mas malaki yung purchase mo, di mas malaki yung may possibility mas malaki pa ang input VAT mo kaysa sa output mo. True enough, nung nag-calculate, ganun nga yung nangyari. So, for like several months, wala siyang binabayarang VAT. Nung may VAT credit siya, simply because mas malalaki minsan yung purchases niya compared dun sa sales niya. That was the time that he was still starting. But of course, the story is now different, di ba? Kaya yun yung perfect example nung you don't look at it at the size of the business, but rather you look at it also at the angle of where do you buy your supplies, diba? Where do you buy your goods? Where do you buy your ingredients? Do you buy them from VAT-registered suppliers? Kasi baka if we take into consideration all those things, it might be better for the entity to just register under the VAT system.
Right. And then, hindi mo madideduct yung non-VAT, no? So, syempre yung VAT, VAT suppliers. Okay.
VAT suppliers lang. Kasi pag non-VAT yung pinagbibilhan mo, wala yung VAT na pinapasa sa'yo eh.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, yung question na can I deduct my expenses, this is mostly, like, say, non-VAT ako, can I still deduct, kunyari, cost of goods, cost of doing business?
Yes. Yes. Ang rule lang dyan, kasi, you know, there are two types of taxes that a business owner would pay. Okay. So, ang two types of taxes that the business owner would pay would be income tax and then the business tax. The business tax can either be in the nature of a VAT or percentage tax. Yeah. The only time that the business owner would not pay any of this is when the business owner is qualified under the 8% and the business owner, of course, chooses 8%. If the business owner does not choose the 8% option, the business owner can deduct expenses. The only rule is that all those expenses should be evidenced by official receipts. Ganon din sa cost of goods. Kasi di ba pag kinakalculate natin yung cost of goods, ano yan eh, may purchases, tama? It's beginning inventory plus purchases minus ending inventory. Those purchases must be supported by official receipts as well. Pag walang official receipts, hindi yan pwede i-deduct, sadly. Alam mo, kahit assets nga eh, dapat may official receipts. Kasi otherwise, hindi ma-deduct yung depreciation expense. Kapag walang official receipts for those assets.
Okay. So pero papasok din dito yung VAT or non-VAT or hindi na? Hindi naman.
Well, both VAT and non-VAT can be deducted as expense.
Okay.
i-consider mo lang yung VAT receipts pagka ang usapan ay magkano ang babayaran kung output VAT. Kasi doon pwede mong i-deduct yung input VAT eh. Pero pagdating sa expenses, kasi income tax angle yan, hindi business tax angle, but rather
Okay.
income tax angle yan, everything can be deducted as long as merong resibo. Whether the receipt came from a VAT or non-VAT supplier, it doesn't matter, provided that there's like a receipt. Yun lang, pag ang usapan na natin ay VAT, no? VAT payable, yun na papasok yung ang resibong ba ng supplier mo ay VAT o non-VAT so that we would know if we can deduct input VAT.
So this is more on the income tax
Yeah,
rather
this
than
is for the income tax. Pagka sinabi nating cost of goods, income tax yan. Another perfect example of the difference between the two perfects pagka income tax, minaminus natin yung ending inventory, di ba? Kunwari, magkano yung total inventaryo ko nung nakaraang taon, ina-add natin yung magkano nabili natin ngayong taon, so basically purchases, magkano ang natira. Okay, so ending inventory, natira. Yung so maglalagay tayo ng numbers so that we can easily understand. Nung last year, meron akong natirang inventaryo na 200,000. Example lang. This year, bumili ako ng purchases worth 500,000. Okay. So, ibig sabihin nun, meron akong pwedeng ibenta na 700,000 pesos. At the end of the year, may natira pa sa aking 300,000. Tama. So, ibig sabihin nito, ang aking nabenta ay 400. Kasi nga may natira pa akong 300 eh. So, 700 minus 300, 400. So, yun yung cost ng nabenta ko. Tama? So, yan yung tinatawag natin cost of goods sold. So, for tax purposes, ang pwedeng i-deduct ay 400,000. Ayun, sa VAT. Sa VAT naman, ang pwedeng i-minus na input VAT ay hindi from the 400 It's the input VAT from the purchases. Magkano yung purchases natin? 700. So, kung halimbawa mong 700 yan at lahat yan ay kinuha from VAT supplier, it would mean na meron tayong 84,000, which is 12% of the 700,000 that we can deduct from the
Nag,
output VAT.
nag-cut
Yeah.
ka doon.
Pag VAT, ang tinitingnan natin, total purchases for the year eh. Pag income tax, ang tinitingnan natin, magkano ba yung cost nung nabenta ko? So that's basically the difference on how you take a look at income tax and VAT.
Yeah. Medyo nag-cut off ka kanina yung pag-explain mo nung ibabawas. Pero siguro, like, ang nag-gets ko doon is, pagka-VAT ka, ima-minus yung sa 700, tama ba? Yun yung i-less.
Pag sa VAT kasi, ang kinukonsider natin, hindi lang yung cost nung nabenta, but rather magkano yung nabili mo for the entire year. So kung ang purchases mo ay 700,000, magkano yung VAT doon? Kung lahat yon binili mo from VAT-registered suppliers, So kung 700,000 yan, tapos binili mo lahat yan from VAT-registered suppliers, so that's 700,000 times 12%, 84,000 kaagad ang input VAT mo. At yun ang pwede mong i-deduct from your output VAT.
Parang nagiging maganda ang VAT, no? Parang, for me, ngayon lang kita ko.
VAT suppliers, lahat ang pinanggagalingan ng goods, maganda ang VAT.
Sige, kasi syempre, ako end user lang naman talaga ako. So before ang VAT na yan sa akin is parang dagdag sa akin kasi usually
Correct.
on yan eh, right? So, okay. So from a business standpoint, parang mas maganda siya. Sige, anyways, we'll go into that.
Alam mo kung sino lang ang hindi, yung usual business na hindi nakaka-benefit from VAT, yan ay yung mga lessors, yung nagpapaupa. Kasi wala naman silang purchases, di ba? Kasi basically yung ang ano lang ba naman ang ano nila, ang expenses nila, salaries usually, di ba? Tsaka repairs. Pero kung ano ka, seller ka, talagang kailangan mong pag-isipan kung magva-VAT ka at kailangan mo tignan kanino mo ba binibili yung mga supplies.
Okay. Sige. So, ito naman. Kasi we're talking about income tax, right? And one of the things na na-research ko is yung Bambi or BMBE, no? So, can you provide insight on what's this? And then, paano makakabawas sa pagbabayad ng tax yung BMBE?
Ang BMB, Barbs, Bambi ang ano, can we just call it Bambi?
Sige,
ang Bambi kasi is one where, ang tawag nga, Bambi is barangay micro business enterprise. You are qualified as a Bambi if, una, the asset size is not more than 3 million. Okay, asset size is not more than 3 million. Pangalawa, ang negosyo mo can either be production, processing, or manufacturing of products and commodities. And that will include agro processing, yung sa agricultural. Okay. It can also include trading. So, kasama dyan ng sari-sari stores, di ba? Trading. And then, services. But the services should not be one that is being conducted by a professional with government licensure exam.
like
So,
sa PRC.
doctors, lawyers, ganon, di ba? So, hindi kasama sila doon. Yan yung coverage nung Bambi. Okay. But third,
Sorry. Like, online sellers, covered ba sila dyan?
pwede. Basta ang asset size nila is not more than 3 million pesos.
So, like, nagbebenta ng damit, ganyan. Pasok yan.
Oo, pasok. Kasi trading eh. Trading. Ang importante lang, yung asset size is not more than 3 million. Okay.
Sige, sige.
But they should get a certificate of authority. They should get a certificate of authority from the treasurer of the local government unit where they are conducting the business. Pag online seller kasi ang mangyayari, ano na lang yan eh, kung saan siya nakatira. Kasi di ba basically pag online, wala ka namang, specific location.
Saka walang business permit usually yan.
Hindi, pero kailangan nila ng business permit, Mars.
Pagka
Kailangan nila ng, kahit kahit Bambi, ano siya, required sila to get a business permit. Only that, wala silang business tax. So, minimal lang ang babayaran nila. It's just the registration fee. Iba-iba yan eh, per LGU. Malamang dito sa Baguio, 150 lang yan eh. So, basically, yan yung benefit pag nag-qualify ka as Bambi. Exempt ka na sa income tax. Exempt sila sa income tax, Murfix eh. So, wala silang babayaran yung 8%, 8%. Ayan. Wala nang ganyan. Wala ding business tax. Wala rin ganyan. No? Yun lang, kailangan nilang kumuha ng certificate of authority.
So, parang lahat ng pinag-usapan natin, baliwala yun. Parang gano'n.
Correct. So, kaya nga kanina, before we started this session, di ba, sinasabi ko na, alam mo, sabi ko sa iyo, di ba, when I was being invited to talk about taxes and all, but nobody touched upon Bambi. So, it's actually a good thing that I had seen this in your talking points because this is a law that is less known by people. So, it's really good that you had touched upon this because not all people would really know about Bambi. Diba?
So, how long yung effectivity? Like 1 year lang ba siya or 2 years?
Actually, ang certificate of authority ng isang Bambi ay 2 years.
Okay.
Tapos renew mo siya for another 2 years.
So parang technically pwedeng 4 years ka na walang binabayarang income tax and business tax.
Kasi ang doon, ang requirement sa batas kasi, Murfix, is kailangan meron kang certificate of authority eh. In order to prove na registered ka nga na Bambi. Kasi nga, it would prove na eligible ka for Bambi. So may registration ka as Bambi sa DTI, meron ka ring registration as Bambi sa local government unit.
So anong dapat mauna kung gusto kong ma-avail to is mag-apply muna ako sa Bambi before mag-register sa BIR? Or
DTI ka muna. DTI, Bambi. Diba?
Okay.
Tapos, kuha kang certificate of authority sa LGU, sa Office of the Treasurer ng LGU, where you are residing, na pinapakita mo na Bambi ka. So, pag meron ka ng certificate of authority, mag-register ka pa rin sa BIR, pero at least meron ka ng proof na Bambi ka. So, nagpa-file ka lang ng tax return, pero wala kang tax na binabayaran.
So ganun yung step by step nun is, I apply for DTI as Bambi.
Yeah.
I apply local before I register.
Yes.
paano kunyari nakapag-register na ako sa BIR?
Kailangan mo muna, siguro ang suggestion ko dyan would be, magrehistro muna sila sa BIR, sa DTI, sa Bambi, as Bambi, tapos sa LGU as Bambi, ituloy lang yung filing of returns but without paying any tax. Kasi basically yun na yun eh. Yun lang, we're fixed, no? Just a caveat. Merong revenue regulation which stated that kailangan nilang kumuha ng certification from the BIR na Bambi nga talaga sila at exempt sila. But I have to emphasize that this is not a condition for tax exemption. So halimbawa mo, hindi ka nakakuha itong certification na to from the BIR and then BIR assessed you of taxes. Ano ang pwede mong ipakita? Yung certification from DTI and LGU na Bambi ka. Kasi yun lang naman ang nire-require ng batas eh. To prove na Bambi ka, di ba? So, pwede mo ipilit sa BIR na Bambi ako, bakit niyo ako papailan? Okay. But the caveat there is, mag-file pa rin na mag-file ng return. Yun na nga lang, walang babayaran na tax. May
Kasi compliance yun, no?
Correct. Mayroon namang mga returns na ititik mo na exempt ka. However, I still suggest that for business entities to ensure that they have, a safety blanket, kumuha na lang sila ng certification from the BIR that BIR recognizes their tax exemption as Bambi. That's my suggestion.
Issue and stuff, no?
Correct.
Do it right the first time na.
Yes. Or at least get the documentation that they recognized you as Bambi.
Even and they do that naman.
Under the law. Yeah, they do. Yes.
Okay, sige. So anyways, I think that's the last of the things that I have. Unless kung may mag-ask ng questions from our listeners, wala pa naman ako natatanggap na questions from them, right? But anyways, I think siguro one of the things na question ko na lang, maybe personal din, like RDO. Kasi for some reason, hindi nalipat yung RDO ko, nasa Baguio pa ata. I'm nandito na Mandaluyong. Like, if I do a business here, do I need to transfer pa ba yung RDO ko dito sa, like, say, Mandaluyong?
Yes, you have to do that. Ang gagawin lang, where fix is, mag-fill out ng form. I think that's 1905, if I'm not mistaken. That's the form to update your registration. You fill it out, isa-stamp dito yan sa Baguio, tapos ipapa-receive mo sa Mandaluyong. Ganun lang siya.
Travel pa talaga, no? Yan ang mga difficulty natin.
Oo, di ba? Kaya nga sabi ko, sana we can do an online thing. Meron kaming transaction, I forgot lang the RDO but we did it online, like email na lang. Some RDOs would actually accept that communication, which is beautiful,
Yun talaga yung natin, no? Parang ease of doing things. Kasi I think there was an initiative before. I'm not sure if this was during Arroyo period or something. Yung parang isang system, I don't know if yun, no? Or basta yung parang isang network lang lahat para connected lahat ng government entities and whatnot. Kasi parang ang daming entities when permits pa lang, parang ang dami na, no? Parang
correct.
You need to go here and go there and then parang
I have to agree with you. Kaya talaga better, no? Yung suggestion mo kanina, what you pitched earlier na may iisa na lang sana, tapos all agencies or concerned agencies are all there so that you can do everything there. Parang gano'n. Maganda yun.
Or just make it simple for the first 2 years. Kasi hindi naman lahat ng nag-start ng business is successful eh.
Yeah, I have to agree with you as well. Pero yun nga, wala pa tayong batas on that.
Anyways. So yun lang naman yung mga questions na na-receive ko from yung mga tinanungan ko. No? So thank you, team, for helping us, for making sure that we have this information so that we can decide on ano ba yung type of registration na gagawin namin, like 8%. Ang pinaka-enlightening sa akin ngayon is yung VAT. Parang nag-light bulb siya na parang okay.
Yeah.
Diba? Especially na, kasi kami, ang focus namin talaga, ang magiging focus namin is online selling, like clothes. And usually, you buy your inventory, hindi naman nabibenta lahat agad yun. Diba? So, meron pa rin akong parang mas madami pa rin talaga yung inventory mo in terms of yung sales.
Correct. But that is true when you also buy your inventory from VAT registered suppliers. That's the cap.
I need to ask them na mag-fat na kayo, ganito maganda.
Oo, kung bumibili sila from VAT.
O yun lang, kung supplier din nila is fat. No? So, ano. So yun lang naman, no? I think there's no question kasi nadaanan na natin. I think we had a good, no, it's not I think, we had a good conversation on everything we touched on, important items, and we were enlightened to all the things that we wanted to understand or know because of the things that's going on right now. And thank you for your time, Tino. I know you're a busy person. Ang hirap
No,
pumasok ng ano mo. So, just in case, I'll talk to you na lang later on if we can schedule another one, or maybe I can ask yung mga participants natin later on to join and then maybe ask their questions para maging one-on-one or parang group session na rin siya, no? Para
yeah,
mas
that
yeah,
can be done as well. We can have like a group discussion so that we can target their specific needs or their specific concerns for their business. Kasi iba-iba talaga yung mga
correct,
concerns
correct. Yeah.
depending on the business setup.
So that's it for this session, and thank you, Tin. Again, thank you for this um very paano ko masabi, important insights that you have provided, and it enlightened me, and hopefully our listeners and watchers will be enlightened as well, and hopefully they'll be able to register their business and they'll be able to become legal business or entities, and providing, because taxes are something that actually it's beneficial for everyone, right? It's being used for social, for yung sa mga mahirap. So, I mean, in the services that we get as well, like the roads that we follow. Yung iba kasi unang iniisip corruption, but it's not always like that. No? Meron namang mga magagandang nagagawa, especially if you have the right people in place and then you see them, right? Especially now, parang a lot of things are going on, but still you see the beauty of things na parang it's still for the better, because that's the only thing that you can do is wish for the better, right? Parang
Yes.
make things better. Because if you're always looking at the bad side, it would not move in any, in a good way. So thank you, Tin, for your time, and hope to see you again in our next sessions about tax, and maybe we can have that consultancy or group discussion as well. Thank you,
Yes,
Tin.
Marfix. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And I'm really hoping that my discussion for today has been insightful to everyone. And I'm really hoping that all entrepreneurs would be able to like fix their business structure and fix their tax systems in place so that they will not have any problem later in the future, especially when they will get surprised that they have, a lot of open cases and all that. So thank you everyone, and I hope to see you soon again.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.